So, former Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger went on his podcast and said that the main key to victory for the Steelers to beat the Ravens this week is to make Lamar Jackson pass, make the Ravens one dimensional. Going to talk about that and kind of give my reaction to it. Also, it was said today that every single Raven practiced. So it seems like the Ravens are coming back to a full bill of health. This and so much more on this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be listening to this. My name is Sutton Def, and you are listening to the Purple Rain podcast, and this is the Quiet Storm Sports Show, a daily show where I talk about the Ravens, and then sometimes I talk about some other sports as well. Uh, you know, NFL, NBA, MMA. I'm going to start getting into that a little bit more, especially with the NFL season wrapping up soon. It's kind of crazy to think, right? January is next month, guys. Playoffs start next month. This season is flying by. But we've been putting out a lot of really good NFL and Baltimore Ravens content. So if that does sound good to you, make sure you go ahead and leave a subscribe on this channel and a like on the video as well. We'd appreciate that here on this channel. So listen, guys, this is a live callers episode. The link to call into the show is in the description. So if you do want to call in and chat, kind of give your piece on this Ravens offense, the defense, what Ben Roethlisberger said about making Lamar Jackson pass, you can do that. But before we get into any of that other stuff, I do have some news from today. Some news from today, the Ravens did practice, and I wanted to kind of give you guys a couple of pieces of information that came from some of the beat writers. Excuse me. So first and foremost, Lamar Jackson was supposed to speak today to the media, which a lot of people were anticipating. They want to get, a status update on his health, I'm sure, his legs, things like that. However, he did not speak, right? So, I take it with a grain of salt, but they did say that he got treatment after. So I'm just going to read the tweet to you guys here. It says the Lamar Jackson was getting treatment after practice today, per Ravens PR, so he won't talk until later this week, presumably tomorrow. All right, so maybe we'll see Lamar Jackson speak tomorrow, and we'll cover that then, of course, too, on our preview episode of Purple Rain podcast. But for me, this was not necessarily bad news. I mean, of course, we know that Lamar Jackson is dealing with every leg injury under the sun right now, so it's kind of expected that he's going to be, I'm just happy he was practicing today. This was the first time he's practiced on a Wednesday in what, like a month? Literally like a month, guys. So maybe it has a little bit to do with, the rubber having to kind of meet the road here in this week 14 matchup against the Steelers, because as I mentioned before, there's a lot riding on this game. It's basically a playoff game, right? Disguised as a week 14 regular season game. Because again, the Ravens have a 76% chance to make the playoffs if they do win this game on Sunday against the Steelers. If they lose, they only have a 30% chance to make the playoffs. So this one has very, very high stakes. So good to see Lamar Jackson's practicing, albeit he didn't speak to the media today like he was supposed to. But moving on from that, John Harbaugh also talked about rookie Emory Jones Jr., who played right tackle at LSU. He feels more comfortable, Emory Jones Jr., at left guard because he's been practicing there. But he could play right guard in a quote-unquote emergency, said John Harbaugh today. And Harbaugh did also acknowledge that the Ravens could revisit where Jones fits best after this season. So, obviously, we saw him at left guard on Thanksgiving night, and he had 16 snaps. He looked pretty good to me. I mean, Harbaugh came out there and said he looked like a rookie. And he made a couple of mistakes, right? He had a holding call that kind of put the Ravens behind down in distance. But outside of that, he looked pretty damn good for a kid playing his very first NFL snaps on Thanksgiving night. Again, under the lights, the entire world is watching. He looked pretty good to me, right? And I'm no coach, but he looked pretty good to me. So hopefully we see some more of his rotation in and out at left guard, him and Andrew Voorhees. And eventually, I want to see Emory Jones take over that left guard spot. I'm not going to lie, because I have not been satisfied with what I've been seeing from our left guard, Andrew Voorhees, for the majority of this season. Moving on here, what else do I have? Harbaugh brought up Tavius Robinson, and he also brought up our Darius Washington. And here's a tweet from Jeff Zarebeck. Shout out to him. Says, Harbaugh said that Tavius Robinson will not play this week. He said it's not entirely been ruled out that our Darius Washington plays this week, which is surprising. Figured it would be the other way around. He said Washington did a lot today in practice. Yeah, so that to me, I don't know how that is well, I'm not gonna say I don't know how it's possible. Obviously, he's been rehabbing this Achilles injury since what, August or whatever, or whenever May, whenever he got hurt, or July. I think it was something like July or August. I can't remember. But he's been nursing it for a while now. I would expect for him to be more ready to play than a guy who broke his foot in Tavius Robinson just about a month ago. So it's surprising, but not at the same time. But the fact that he could possibly play in this game, and then something else that John Harbaugh has said that kind of piqued my interest as well. You can, because they were mentioning, somebody in the media asked John. They said, with Malachi Starks and Hamilton and Alohi Gilman, where you kind of fit in an Ardarius Washington if you were to come back so soon. And he said that he mentioned, yeah, but Ardarius Washington can also play nickel. He can play that nickel cornerback position. So when the Ravens do need an extra DB on the field, you could possibly see Ardarius Washington in there and maybe not a TJ Tampa or what have you, right? So going to be interesting to see how they utilize, and when they utilize Ardarius Washington, because like I said on yesterday's episode of the show, he's been balling, man. I mean, these past couple of seasons, man, quiet as kept. He has been a very impactful player in that secondary. He's always around the football, right? He's knocking footballs loose, right? He's pass breakups, all that good stuff, right? All that good stuff. So definitely want to see Ardarius Washington back sooner rather than later. Prod says if he plays, he will be very limited. Shout out to Prod, one of our members here in the chat. Shout out to you, brother. Let me see. I see Devon Johnson in the house. What's going on, Devon? Shout out to you. I am live right now, guys, by the way. Shelly is in here, says I'm watching NFL Live, and they were just showing him at the podium. Who are you talking about, Shelly? Showing who at the podium? Was it Harbs? If Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens aren't scaring teams anymore, and it's sad, E-Money says. Yeah, I mean, we're not scary to anybody, but honestly, I like where the Ravens are right now, because normally at this point in the regular season, the Ravens are, front running, right? They're pretty much locking up the AFC North, contending for one of the top seeds in the AFC, right? And things look really, really good, right? But now it kind of gives more of that feel of the 2012 season, where not everything is figured out to this point in the season, right? And this team has had to look itself in the mirror multiple times this season, right? Not to say that in previous years we didn't have bad losses where we kind of had to reset and things like that, but this has been a totally different season as compared to the last maybe 3 or 4 seasons, right? Where, I mean, you're in week 14 and you're 6-6, right? That kind of just speaks for itself right there. This team is not where they need to be, and they know it. Marlon Humphrey said today in the locker room, he said, and I quote, "We're still coming together as a team. We're just hoping that now is the time we start clicking." Quote, end quote. The only thing I don't like about, that type of speak is it feels like you're saying like we're waiting on some sort of external source in order for things to start happening around here. It's like we're waiting for success to happen to us rather than going out and grabbing success by the horns, right? That's what it kind of feels like to me coming from Marlon Humphrey. Now, don't get me wrong, Marlon Humphrey is one of the best players on the team, an absolute baller. You get some timely turnovers when you need him to. But outside of that, I mean, as a cover corner, hasn't been the greatest. I think that his time might be coming to an end with Baltimore soon. I mean, I'm not saying that I want that to happen necessarily, but if I'm Eric DeCosta and I'm moving around the numbers this offseason, Marlo might be one of those expendable players, unfortunately. But those were his comments today. Again, guys, this season is going completely different than any other season. That's kind of something that gives me a sliver of hope, just because of the mentality reset. The mentality is nowhere near the same as it's been last year, 2023, anything like that, right? So maybe that's something to kind of draw a silver lining with, right? Let me see. We got Coach. What's going on, Coach? Sip to Tally Films in the chat. What's going on, brother? I was just on the Ravens Roundup yesterday. We had a really good time. Shout out to the Ravens Roundup. Shout out to Coach. Make sure you guys go ahead and check out our last episode of the show. It was a really good one. Really good show yesterday. A really good show. Shout out to Coach. Avery, I see you in the chat. Avery says still coming together in week 14. Yeah, man. I mean, it's just I don't know. I don't know. If not now, then when? You know what I mean? If not now, then when is one of those things for me. Let me see. What else do we have in here? Other quick news from today before I get into this big Ben Roethlisberger stuff. Nope. I think that's about it. Oh, one more refresh. Let's make sure. Oh, Rashad Bateman spoke on the offensive struggles today. Interesting. Definitely want to hear that. Let me go ahead and put this on the mic so you guys can hear it.
Yeah, I would say that we are. I feel like we have been all year. We had our good days, we had our bad days, but we know what we can do, and we all know what we're capable of. So to go out there and not do what we can do doesn't feel good. So we're just trying to clean that up, go out there and put up the points that we know we can.
How difficult is that to do in kind of week 13, to your point? It's something that's come up a bunch of times during the season. Does it just get harder the more it happens in a way?
I mean, it's a situation that it can happen anytime. So, you know what I'm saying? We just got to go to work and I guess not give up on it. We got to keep believing and keep trusting that it's going to break through whenever it is going to. So, we got the guys to do it. Just got to do it.
Allegedly. Okay. So that was Rashad Bateman giving some pretty generic answers on the offense's struggles and kind of what he thinks needs to happen in order to get the offense back on track. Uh, we talked about Rashad Bateman on Monday's episode of the show, and I was basically just saying, I've seen all the clips online about people saying that he's not getting open and things like that, but I think it's more a disservice from Todd Monken to Rashad Bateman that he's not getting the football, right? I mean, he is low key one of our better receivers, high key, if you ask me. I mean, that 2024 season told me everything that I needed to know. He was a threat in the intermediate part of the field, the short part of the field, and also with the deep ball as well. He was our best deep ball receiver last year, and that has completely just poof disappeared all at once this year. I mean, we haven't seen it at all, right? We haven't seen that threatened at all. So I would love to see Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman get back on the same page. But again, I think that starts with Todd Monken being a little bit more intentional about getting him in as a part of the game plan. And Jason from Huddle It Up Films, shout out to him. He said something interesting on Monday's episode as well. He said that, the Ravens offense tends to flow towards the Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews side of the field, right? So a lot of the times Rashad Bateman's going to be the second at highest, but most of the time maybe the third read for the offense for Lamar Jackson. And by that time, especially considering this offensive line, he doesn't really have time to see Rashad Bateman streaking open and to really throw to him with anticipation. Not to mention, Lamar Jackson's not necessarily a big anticipatory thrower, and that's the type of receiver that Rashad Bateman is. That's the type of quarterback that I think that he would probably prefer or work best with. So again, if you're not being intentional about getting Rashad Bateman, kind of involved in this offense, then it's not going to look good. It's not going to look pretty at all, at all. So while we're talking about throwing the football, right? And shout out to D Wiz. I see you, D Wiz, in the chat. One of our members here at PRP. Tanja Bowman in the chat says, "Hey Flock, I'm driving and listening. Please drive safe." But thank you for tuning in. Let me see. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into what we came here to get into today. So, Big Ben Roethlisberger has a podcast now, and I kind of knew about it, kind of didn't know about it, but I saw some clips this morning online circulating about what he thinks that the Steelers need to do in order to defeat the Ravens this Sunday. So, again, without any further ado, let's just go ahead and listen to what Big Ben had to say about this week's matchup.
Versus what we just saw this last week with Buffalo is the running game, and they have Derrick Henry.
Jeez.
They have Lamar Jackson who can run the ball. So is Pittsburgh going to go into this game and say, okay, that's not happening?
Yeah.
Lamar, beat us with your arm. We're going to put 9 guys in the box. We are going to make sure that you do not run for 100 yards, or I don't have to put a fake number on it, because if they run for 110 and you win, who cares? But go into this saying, no, Lamar has to beat us with his arm. It has to. That is our mindset. We are shutting down the run. And I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but in my opinion, that's what I would do. Is I'd say, hey, listen, we got to go. We got to try and do whatever we can to make this team as one-dimensional as possible, and make that one dimension beat us. And it's literally just taking Derrick Henry out of the game. Like, take the run game out, and just, if Lamar beats you with his arms and legs, then so be it. What makes me nervous is what we just saw this last week.
Yeah, I was on mute. My bad. But you guys heard what Big Ben said there. We got a super chat donation. This one's coming from Coach. What's going on, Coach? Appreciate you for coming through, dropping the 15 piece in the chat. Appreciate you, brother. But yeah, guys. Okay, you guys can hear me now. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Again, this is my 18,000th time saying I need a producer, right? Because sometimes I get a little distracted with all this stuff going on at the same time. But what I was basically saying was that Big Ben Roethlisberger is right. There's no threat of Lamar Jackson running the football right now. No threat. Even on read option plays, edges and DBs who they put on the edge close to the line of scrimmage, they are crashing down on Derrick Henry. They're not even thinking about Lamar Jackson keeping it and running. Not even thinking about it. So that takes a dimension and an element away from this offense that kind of gave them an advantage for the past 8 years. It's easier than ever to defend the Ravens right now. If you can sell out and stop Derrick Henry on first and second down and get the Ravens into third and long, that's really all you got to do, brother. That's all you got to do. And you already know what happens on third and long, right? They're going to bring a lot of guys in, disguise coverages and whatnot, make it seem like these guys over here are coming, these guys over here are coming. Somebody's going to drop out after the play is snapped, and they're going to speed up Lamar Jackson's clock. They're going to challenge this offensive line with stunts on the outside, on the right side, right? Roger Rosengarten and Daniel Fa'alele have been struggling with stunts on their side of the offensive line all year. It's going to be the same game plan from the Steelers in this one. Sell out to stop Henry on first and second down, get them into obvious passing downs, speed up Lamar's clock by sending extra pressure at him, and get them off the field. That's going to be the game plan. That is going to be the game plan. And the reason why I think that this will end up being a dogfight is because in return, I don't really have a lot of faith in the Steelers offense. So I could see this being a very low scoring game. I think I heard somebody earlier this week say like 17-13-ish type of game. That's a fact. That is a fact. I think that's how this game is going to go because the Steelers can't run the ball. Hell, they can barely throw it. Aaron Rodgers could not take snaps under center. I don't think he's going to be able to do it this weekend either. I don't think a week will change those fractures in his hand. For him to be able to take consistent snaps under center in a cold-as Baltimore, right? I would assume, I don't know the exact forecast for this weekend, but I assume it's going to be somewhere in the 30s around game time. Somewhere in the 30s, maybe low 40s, but that's about it. Those hands are going to get cold. He's not going to want to take those snaps under center, with the center spiking the football basically into his hands repeatedly over and over and over again. So I do think you see a lot less play action for that reason from Aaron Rodgers, and it's going to be a very vanilla, maybe one-dimensional Steelers offense. So I think there's going to be a stalemate. And guys, listen, I saw somebody say this on TikTok not too long ago. Like, the Steelers and the Ravens are basically the same team. They're basically the same team. They're built to beat each other, quite literally, So, and you'll see that this weekend. I don't think that either team scores more than 23 points max. I would be shocked. I think there's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of stalling drives, things like that. But again, over-under should be 33.5. That'll be hilarious. That would be hilarious. It's going to be another ugly watch. Shouldn't be a dogfight. Should be a blowout if the Ravens offense comes out like the playoff game last year and they mean business. Yeah, the Ravens offense had more of an identity last year. We had some go-to runs. Like my guy Coach likes to say, we had some go-to runs where, hey, when you need 3, 4, 5 yards, what can we go to and get that consistently? We had that. We don't have that right now. We don't have it at all. Because, again, first and second down, teams are selling out. 7, 8, 9 guys in the box, ready to stop Derrick Henry. So how do you solve that? Because according to Big Ben here, as long as you can get Derrick Henry off the field and literally anybody else in the backfield other than him, you're golden if you're the Steelers, which he's kind of right about. Because against much lesser defenses and much lesser competition just overall relative to the Steelers, compared to the Steelers, the Jets, the Dolphins at the time that we played them, the Browns, right? Well, the Browns have a really good defense, and they're also in Division 2. But my point is, guys, that's kind of the point. That's what you have to do to this Ravens team right now. Get them in a 3rd and 7 or longer, Send pressure after Lamar, get him off the field. But it does start with stopping Derrick Henry. But how do you fix that? If you're this Ravens team, how do you fix that? That's kind of the question that I have here. And I was talking to Huddle It Up Films, again, our guy Jason, friend of the show, and he was saying that, Keaton Mitchell should be a big part. You should be a focal piece, a focal point in this game. I said it yesterday on the show. I said I at least I want 6 to 7 carries for Keaton Mitchell. As a matter of fact, drop it in the chat whether or not you think Keaton Mitchell will get over or under 5.5 carries. Let's go there. Over, under 5.5 carries for Keaton Mitchell in this one. I definitely think it needs to be over. I would not be surprised if it goes under. Because again, if the game ends up being ugly, the Ravens will be they're going to be more discouraged to run the football, right? If you find yourself in the third quarter, if you're John Harbaugh, and the score is, I don't know, 7-13 Steelers, right? You're not even down a full touchdown. I could totally see first and second downs, this offense coming out shotgun, straight up passing, straight up pass sets, right? So that's why I think early in the game, you have to threaten Keaton Mitchell. It's going to be imperative that early in this game, you threaten Keaton Mitchell to the outside. If you do not do that and you allow the Steelers defense to get comfortable stopping Derrick Henry, that's the difference right there. That's been the difference in literally every big game with Derrick Henry on this team that the Ravens have lost. Teams have shut down Derrick Henry early, and we have felt like as a result of that, we have to completely go away from the run, which is why I'm saying give them the different look early. As you saw in here, Big Ben Roethlisberger knows nothing about Keaton Mitchell. He knows nothing about Keaton Mitchell, right? Like nobody's even expect. I mean, obviously Mike Tomlin and his coaches and his staff, they know who Keaton Mitchell is. But the defense, 80% of their priority and their attention is going to be big number 22 in the backfield. So if you threaten Keaton early and you burn him with Keaton early and you make them respect that, hell, I want to see Keaton and Derrick Henry on the field at the same time. Right? Play the angles game. And this is where I wish our offensive playbook and our play calling was a little bit more creative. I mean, I think I see somebody in the chat right here. King of Crank, shout out to you, says our offensive playbook looks so generic. How many rollouts to the right and screen passes next game? If Derrick can run the ball, that's on the O-line. Or if he can't run the ball, I guess you're saying. We need to stay in that 10 to 15-yard pass game. I agree with the rollouts to the right. Screen passes. I wouldn't mind seeing some screens to Keaton Mitchell in this one. Give me an early screen to Keaton Mitchell. Give me an early toss to Keaton Mitchell. Threaten that speed early. Wake up this Steelers defense and let them know, hey, look, it's not just 22 who you have to worry about today, right? Because when you get them off balance, right? When you get them off balance with a little jab, right? A little jab here, jab there, jab here, jab there, right? That's when you can go and you can hit him with a hook. And that's Derrick Henry. And that's what I'm saying. Hey, look, keep both of these guys on the field. We've seen them run concepts like that before where you have both running backs and you are in one of the heaviest packages. You're in 21 or 22 personnel, 2 backs or in 1 or 2 tight ends. Run some of that. First downs are going to be very, very important in this one. Ben Roethlisberger is saying here, you got to make this Ravens offense one-dimensional. And the way that you do that is limiting Derrick Henry to from you have to get anywhere from a TFL, tackle for loss, to only a 2-yard gain at max on first down for Derrick Henry. If you do that, you've got the Ravens in trouble. The Ravens are in hot water on whatever offensive possession that is, whatever drive that is. They are in hot water, right? So Ravens have their work cut out for them. They have their work cut out for them. What I want to do here, I actually want to bring up, I'm going to share with you guys on screen. Let me see here. Some of the insights and stats from the Steelers. Let's go ahead and take a look at those, shall we? Shall we? Take that off. Thank you, Big Ben, for your services. Let me see. Okay. So Big Ben's talking about make the Ravens throw. Make Lamar pass the football, right? if we're looking at some of the stats we see here, and it's going to be on the right side of the screen, Ravens offense or Ravens passing offense versus Steelers passing defense. One thing that sticks out like a sore thumb, right? The Steelers defense, when they get pressure, number 2 in the league, which is why I'm saying with our offensive line, you cannot afford to get in 3rd and 6 or longer. It's going to be a game of inches and down and distance. You have to get into 2nd and 4. You have to get into 3rd and 2. Otherwise, it's going to be a very ugly game that you could find yourself losing by the end of this one. And oh yeah, by the way, now you have a 30% chance of making the playoffs. Again, hypothetically speaking, if you lose, I'm going to knock on wood. So, 2nd ranked, again, passing versus pressure for the Steelers defense. That is something to kind of look out for. Let me see here. I'm going to get into Tez Walker in a second. I think he needs to be on the field too. For sure. Other things that I'm looking at here, I mean, the Ravens passing offense just has not been very efficient at all. You can see the Steelers have most of the advantages, actually. They have most of the advantages when it comes to the Ravens offense versus the Steelers defense passing. Now, where the Ravens have a slight advantage is intermediate passing. That's where, in the middle of the field, this could potentially be a good Zay Flowers game. Zay Flowers typically gets targeted in the intermediate, the 10 to 15 yard range of the field. Mark Andrews is another candidate of that as well. Of course, I think that they'll probably be trying to kind of bracket Mark Andrews, not let him get his. But Zay Flowers is going to find his way open in that zone, and he will catch a 10 to 15 yard pass. I do predict, as much as I talk about Zay Flowers, right, on this channel, I do predict Zay Flowers to have a pretty good game against the Steelers. I do. I'm going to give Zay Flowers 5 catches in this one for probably about 70, 80 yards. That's what I would say. Working that intermediate area of the field, making guys miss. Hopefully he's been listening to obviously not. They're not listening to the noise. Guys like me, everybody else who makes content in the space, we're all noise to them. I know that, right? But hopefully he's been listening to himself and his own messages from earlier in the offseason, where he said himself, all right, I'm going to start getting north. Enough with the east and west stuff. I'm going to start getting north. I want to see that in the Steelers game. Because last game he had 2 catches for 6 yards. And no, this is not a Zay Flowers segment like normal. It's not. Right? But last game he had 2 catches for 6 yards. I know he's going to want to bounce back. This is one of the most important games of the year. If you want to make the playoffs, you got to have this one. Steelers defense is soft in the middle of that zone. That's where Zay Flowers gets most of his money. So I think a big Zay Flowers game could be incoming. Let's keep moving here. Let me see. So deep passing. Steelers are 25th in the league at defending deep passes. Only issue is, will Lamar Jackson have enough time in the pocket? Right? Will he have enough time in the pocket to get any passes down deep? I do want to see Tez Walker continue to run those deep routes. Those are beautiful to see. He runs those very, very well. Breaks off his routes at the very beautiful timing. Getting in and out of his breaks, man. And he's got he's not like super fast, but he's just got a really long stride, right? So he covers a lot of ground pretty quickly, and he creates separation. He's just got to start coming down with some of these catches, man. I mean, and it's not to say that he's like a drop artist or anything like that. He had 2 last week, one of which kind of was a little bit high for him. The other one was just unacceptable. It was a great play by the DB, but he should have came down with that one, especially when his team needed it like they did. But I do expect him to clean that up. I do expect you to see another deep shot to Tez Walker. I think Lamar Jackson's kind of figuring out, hey, look, I can go down the field to this guy. Maybe he will kind of start to develop as that deep target for Lamar. I don't know. I was hoping Rashad Bateman could be that. Maybe Rashad is still not all the way healthy from the injury he sustained earlier in the year. Not sure. But Tez Walker is ready. He's hungry. He's available. I think you got to feed him, man. You got to feed him. You got to see what this kid is, man. You have to. At some point, if I'm Eric DeCosta, I would get a little bit irritated with some of my skill players that I drafted, like that I thought were really good deep draft pickups, right? If they're just not getting utilized. But every time they do get utilized, it's like, oh shit, look at what this guy can do, right? I'd be a little bit irritated if I was EDC. I was like, John, I'm gonna go across the street to John Harbaugh's house if I'm EDC, and I'm gonna knock on his door and say, hey, look, you think we could get, you think we can get Tez Walker a little bit more targets on Sundays? I think that guy's pretty good. I don't know what you're seeing on tape, but I think that guy's pretty damn good. Let's give him the ball. Give him the ball, man. Give him the damn ball. Let me see. All right, so let's look at the flip side here. Let's look at the flip side because honestly, the Steelers can't really run the football that well. They can't run the football that well, right? Um, and if you're looking at the stats over here for the Steelers offense and passing offense to be specific, it's kind of like night and day, right? On both sides of the aisle here. The Steelers have an advantage at defending the Ravens passing game, and the Ravens have an advantage at defending the Steelers passing game. So that's why I think this one's going to be a very ugly, lots of incomplete passes. You know what I mean? I don't know what the weather is going to look like, but it's going to be windy. I don't know if it's snowing out there in Baltimore yet. I'm honestly not sure. But let's look at the numbers here. So passing versus pressure. The Steelers are one of the worst in the league. And we're talking about Aaron Rodgers here. Aaron Rodgers does not like pressure in his 40s. He will force that ball out every time. Our problem is we can't generate pressure that quickly. So my only concern is that maybe, halfway through first quarter, halfway through the first half, whatever, Aaron Rodgers kind of wakes up to the idea that, hey, look, they're not really getting off the ball as quickly as some of these other teams that we've played. So I have a little bit extra time. I have a couple extra milliseconds back here to really survey the field. And that's all you need if you're Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the best throwers of the football, one of the best processors at the quarterback position of all time. That's all you need if you're him. Kind of like what we saw with Joe Burrow last week, throwing with anticipation. Aaron Rodgers can do that exact same thing. And also, when you consider he's going to be playing a lot out of the gun, he's going to be playing a lot out of the gun here, which is going to give him a little bit of extra time. It's going to give him a wider field of view to see exactly where he wants to go with the football. I would expect a lot of slant routes in this one. I would say that they probably want to get DK Metcalf a lot more involved, which is where I think Marlon Humphrey is going to be utilized the most. Marlon Humphrey is still our most physical corner. I think that they will end up sticking him on DK Metcalf and say, hey, look, lock this guy up. And the good thing about DK Metcalf is that, the guy is damn near built like Hercules, right? But he plays like Stuart Little almost. Like he doesn't really utilize his size the way that he should. Speaking of size, the Steelers, they actually really don't utilize the size of a lot of their guys. Like Darnell Washington Jr., I think, is a guy who I really expected them to make not necessarily a focal point of their offense, but a much bigger piece, certainly, considering, this guy is what, 6'5", 6'6", or something like that, and damn near 300 pounds and can catch the football and actually turn upfield and run. Oh, he plays tight end. I really think, and I am afraid if the Steelers do get in the red zone, they will target that guy. And I could see, if you're a gambling man and you want to sprinkle a little bit on an anytime touchdown, Darnell Washington anytime touchdown, I would just check the odds. I would just check the odds. Because I can see, again, in the red zone, getting him the football, he's going to be matched up against, I don't know, maybe a Teddy Buchanan or something like that, or Roquan, and somebody gets dragged into the end zone. I'm getting nightmares already thinking about it, but it could totally happen is the problem. It could totally happen. So, neither here nor there, but just kind of wanted to say that. We look at some of the key advantages for this game. For the Ravens defense, rushing in the red zone, the Ravens rank number 1 in the league at stopping red zone runs. Meanwhile, the Steelers cannot run the football in the red zone. That's huge. That's huge right there. Another super chat donation. Another donation. Who's this one coming in from? This one's coming from the King of Crank. Appreciate you, King of Crank. Dropping a 2-piece in the chat. Says, what adjustment will they make for Fa'alele and TJ Watt? Oh, that's a good one, man. I really think that this is a game where you're going to see a lot more chip blocking. You're going to see, and here's the thing, you haven't really heard too much from TJ Watt this year. He's been relatively quiet, especially for a guy who just got paid, right? So I do expect him to be kind of present in this game. Dare I say, maybe a sack or two. Lamar Jackson, as you know, likes to hold on to the football back there, and likes to go down the field and make big plays. We know that, and plus he's not as inclined to run, which is going to make him a little bit more of a sitting duck for TJ Watt to have time to get in the backfield to him. But I do expect more chip blocks from your tight ends, flash concepts, things like that from Mark Andrews, where he blocks a little bit and then flashes out into the flat, or maybe Isaiah Likely on that, even though I don't want Likely at blocking at all deep D ends after what we saw last week, him getting blown up and kind of really forcing that interception that Lamar threw. That sucked. But Patrick Ricard. Pat Ricard is a guy who didn't get a bunch of snaps last week. I don't know the exact snap percentage, but there were some crucial downs. And based off of the play calls in hindsight, you would have thought that, hey, maybe they would have put in Pat Ricard, on that play. Like, for example, again, the play where Isaiah Likely gets blown up. Maybe if Pat Ricard was in the game and you send him in motion to that side of the field to block up that DN, he doesn't get his face ran through. He doesn't look like a traffic cone out there, and he stands his ground. That's what Pat Ricard is known to do. He's either pancaking you or he's standing his ground. It's like no in between. Very rarely are you going to knock Pat Ricard on his butt. That happened, I think, on his first game back, maybe his second game back of the season. But lately, he's looking back in prime form. Prime Pat right now. Prime Pat. So I do think that that's going to be another kind of thing that the Ravens do to kind of neutralize the Steelers' pass rush. Let me see. Steelers are not good at defending. Oh, no, wait. Never mind. No, that doesn't matter. Rushing shotgun, deep passing. Steelers' offense cannot throw deep. Can't throw deep. They really can't do much right now. The Ravens should win this game. They should win this game. The only thing is, guys, as you know, when it comes to divisional games, you can toss the stats out of the window. So while I'm speculating here, when it comes to those divisional games, man, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what they say here, especially Ravens versus Steelers, who, like I said, they are literally built to beat each other. Built to beat each other. If we look at the overall team overview, Steelers' overall passing efficiency ranks 19th in the league. And the Ravens' defense versus the pass overall ranks 20th in the league, so kind of even there. Overall rushing efficiency, Steelers' offense ranks number 19th in the league. And the Ravens' defense against rushing overall is ranked 17th in the league. So, I mean, kind of even there, too. Steelers' offense pressure rate. Number one in the league at pressure rate to the Ravens' 29th. So, again, it's going to be a big game for the offensive line. I do want to see what Emory Jones has to offer in his second stint. Not starting, but kind of rotating in and getting some play time at that left guard spot. It's going to be a very, very big game, a very big teaching point for him and a lot of other guys, too, who haven't played the Steelers yet. So that'll be interesting to see. Like I said, I think Pat Ricard is going to be mixed in with the blocking a lot more in this one. If we go to the other side in the Ravens offense, Ravens' overall passing efficiency ranks 27th in the league. And the Steelers' overall passing defense efficiency is ranked 16th in the league. So they have the advantage there. Overall rushing efficiency, Ravens rank 4th in the league, and the Steelers are ranked 22nd overall in defending the run. So that's where the bread and butter is going to be. And like we heard Ben Roethlisberger say earlier, guys, that's where you want to make the Ravens one-dimensional. You have to make them one-dimensional. You got to take away the run. So moral of the story, guys. Moral of the story. The Ravens in this one, more so than any other game. More so than any other game so far this season, if you ask me. They're going to have to make sure they stay ahead of the sticks. You got to stay ahead of the sticks. Like I said earlier, guys, you cannot afford to get anywhere from a tackle for loss to only a 2-yard gain on first downs. Now, will the Ravens utilize maybe some play action? Maybe some quick game play action to start it off? Sure. But my only issue is that like it'll work maybe once or twice, but it's really more of a smoke and mirrors thing. Because at some point on 1st and 10, you're going to have Derrick Henry out there and run it up the middle. At some point, that's going to happen. right? And the Steelers will be prepared for that every single time, which is why I said, I mean, early in that game, I do want to see some play action, but I also want to see some Keaton Mitchell. If you threaten him early and let them know, let the Steelers know, hey, look, it's not going to be Derrick Henry on first and second down, and then we can just kind of pin our ears back and get after Lamar Jackson. It's not going to be that. Get them out of that game plan, because I guarantee you that's what they want to do. That's exactly what they want to do. Let me see if there's any more news here. Any more news that I might have missed while I'm on stream with you guys. Marlon Humphrey said today, we have not played great complimentary football really all year. It's time. We're too good of a team on paper. I know that's been said. Now it's time to be a good team on Sunday, Monday, whatever day we're playing. He also said, talk is cheap. How you play will speak way louder than your words. Every game you play in the NFL is meaningful. But if you can't get up for this one, I think that shows something about your character. That shows something about your will. Interesting. So we'll see. We'll see what he's got to offer, man. We'll see what he's got. Let me see. I got my guys Modius backstage. It's Modius backstage calling into the show. Let's go and switch over to our caller scene. There we go. All right, so let me see if we can get his Modius in here. Is Modius, you ready? Let me know back there. But yeah, while he's doing. No, we don't need cameras on. Let's go ahead and bring up his Modius, guys. Modius, what's going on, brother?
So, son, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So, I mean, how are you feeling about, the Steelers matchup coming up? I've talked a lot in this episode about what the Ravens offense maybe needs to do to kind of get over the hump and maybe potentially score 30+ points. What are your thoughts on the offense and what the Ravens need to do to beat the Steelers?
Well, I guess it really depends on if Todd Munkins decides to actually stick with the damn game plan and run the ball. If he does, I mean, there's no reason why we can't replicate what the Bills did. I think we have all the running backs in the world who can do everything they could think of under the sun. The blocking scheme sucks, but we can get
Yeah.
past that. I mean, they didn't have either the left or right tackles, and they still made them look ass. So there's
Yeah.
no
I
reason why we
mean,
should be able to.
you're right. There is no reason why this Ravens team should not be able to run all over the Steelers team. My only thing is the Ravens have not been very efficient running behind their guards. And I assume, just like in every other game we've seen, you're going to see a lot of instances where it's 1st and 10. It's going to be Henry right up the middle behind maybe Andrew Voorhees, maybe Emory Jones. And maybe this is where I really want to see Emory Jones shine, right? I want to see us run behind him and it actually work, right? Because if the coaches see that, it's going to be more of Emory Jones, less of Voorhees, and maybe the rushing attack gets a little bit more efficient because like Coach said, and like everybody else who watches film says, you have to be able to have these runs that you can go to and pretty much guarantee yourself anywhere between 3 to 6 yards, right? So I think that's a big key in this one. What do you think about Keaton Mitchell too?
Keaton Mitchell?
Yeah.
There's no reason why Rashid at least should be getting more snaps than Keaton Mitchell. I mean, yeah, they said that they're in past 2-minute offense, for I don't know how, like, what, one entire quarter of the game. I don't think I buy that. I don't know what their fixation on him is. I'm not saying Rashid Ali is a bad running back by any means. He's not.
Right.
But I mean, he doesn't have game breaking speed like Mitchell does, and he's not gonna beat people up and bully them like Derrick Henry does. So I mean, he's not a bad back. He's just not. I don't know if he excels in anything, in my opinion.
Well, the thing is that the reason why they have him out there a lot of the time is for pass protection. And that's where I think that, Derrick Henry, I just wish, man, I wish he was a better pass protector. Because if he was, you could have him on the fields on these obvious passing downs on 3rd and 6 or longer, right? But since he is so bad at pass protection, if you look at the film, like he barely gets hands on guys sometimes, barely gets hands on guys. So you have to kind of keep him off the field on 3rd down, and you can't put Keaton Mitchell out there because he's not going to be able to pass block at all. I mean, the guy's like what, maybe 190 pounds soaking wet. So it's like you kind of have to put Rasheen Ali if you get down and you need to like have somebody who's going to be able to pick up the blitz for Lamar. Rasheen Ali is the best guy to do that. Unfortunately, it was Justice Hill before, Justice Hill, of course, is on IR right now, but I think that that's the reason, is Modius, why we're seeing a lot more of Rasheen Ali, especially when the Ravens get into some, I guess you can call these dog fights, where they find themselves having to come back.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think that that kind of explains it right there, man. That kind of explains it, why you see more Rasheen Ali.
I mean it does. It doesn't make me happy about it. I think I think there needs to be a really good hard look. I mean, we're still in the middle of the season, so I mean, there's still a lot of game to be played. But I think that the coaching staff needs to get a real hard, good look themselves in the mirror and say, why can't we get some of these people to be able to block? Blocking
Right.
is fundamental 101. I mean, when I played football in high school, if you couldn't block, they got you out of the off the field. No matter,
Yeah.
doesn't matter which position you played. So I mean, there's
And
no
I
reason why that shouldn't happen in the pros either.
And I think that's what is happening, right? I mean, the fact that Keaton Mitchell and Derrick Henry cannot block worth a damn. That's why you see more Rasheen Ali on the field. Talk about the defense in this one. So obviously, this Steelers offense really doesn't have a whole lot that really terrifies us, right? But or let me ask you this: what are some of the concerns that you have for this defense going into this Pittsburgh matchup, if any at all?
I would say the biggest thing. I mean, you just got to see how the match is gonna play out between. I guess it's gonna be really a Wuze versus DK Metcalf. I mean, I think T Higgins is still gonna be out. I don't know what can. I think is Marlo good to go now? I know he had that finger thing. I think he's good to go now. So but
Yeah, he's good.
I
But
don't
you said
see
T
him beating
Higgins,
DK though.
or did you
So it
mean
really
did you
would
mean?
be against Cheeto versus DK Metcalf, and who's gonna win that battle?
Yeah. I was thinking more so, I mean, because historically we've seen a lot of Marlon Humphrey on DK Metcalf, right? Because Marlon Humphrey is a bigger, more physical corner. I know Awuzie is having a great year, though. He's having a great year. So I definitely think that they'll throw different looks at him. It's looking like, I don't know if you heard this, but it's looking like Nate Wiggins. Let me go and turn this timer off. But it's looking like Nate Wiggins is going to play. I mean, he practiced today. I don't know how he went from being in a boot just a couple of days ago to, participating in practice today. I don't know if he's going to play necessarily, but outside of that, I mean, really, I think I saw somebody in the chat say this. Boom and Surge says it's simple. You got to stop Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. Everything happens off of their running backs. A lot of their explosive plays come from Warren and Gainwell. So I think it starts down low. Of course, I think you're going to see a lot of Kyle Hamilton off of the edge, right? Kind of tackling guys from the weak side. And hopefully, we can continue to have guys like John Jenkins and Travis Jones kind of clog up that middle, which is going to be very, very important in this one because it's going to be all a down and distance game. That's what it's going to come down to. That's what I was saying earlier in the episode. Whichever team can stay ahead of the sticks and therefore stay on the field longer, they have the much better opportunity to win the game. That and turnovers, right? That and turnovers. But before you get out of here, Asmodeus, give me one bold prediction for this Ravens versus Steelers game, if you have one.
I don't know if it's a bold prediction. I say maybe a sack and a half for Mike Green.
Okay. I like that. They showed Mike Green practicing earlier. I would love to see that. I mean, I think he leads the team in sacks right now with only 2.5, which is piss poor, if you ask me. But I definitely need to see a lot more of Mike Green. And I don't think that we're really going to see him be as dominant as we expect him to be until he puts on a little bit more weight. I talked about this yesterday on the Ravens Roundup. I would love to see a sack and a half, though, because Aaron Rodgers is going to be there to be had. If the secondary can hold up and kind of create some coverage sacks, you should get some coverage sacks in this game. Maybe one of them goes to Mike Green. So I like that. I like that. But as Modius, bro, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming through to this episode of the show. And check in back with me next Wednesday, will you?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, bro. Appreciate you. Peace.
Yep. See ya.
That was my guy, Modius. Appreciate him for coming through. But yeah, guys, this is gonna be a tough game. This is gonna be a tough game. Again, regardless of the stats and everything that you saw that we talked about earlier in the show, this one is going to be difficult simply because it's Ravens versus Steelers. No other reason. No other reason. Is that simple. They have a lot of respect for us. We got a lot of respect for them. However, Mike Tomlin talked about it earlier in the week too. Like they know exactly what we want to do. We know exactly what they want to do. Hell, like I said before, these two teams are built to beat each other. So it's going to be about, can the Ravens throw off the Steelers' running defense, right, and kind of get them on their heels, right? Do not let them fly upfield because they know Every first and second down, Derrick Henry's going to get the ball running behind the right guard or the right tackle or whatever in between the tackles, So just, if you can run the ball efficiently, you should win this one. You should win. And I think that looks like getting Keaton Mitchell more involved. I mentioned earlier in the show, over under 5.5 carries for Keaton Mitchell in this one. I need the Ravens. I need Harbaugh to hammer the over on that one. I need him to hammer the over. But that is going to do it for me on this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Appreciate you guys for coming through to this one. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live tomorrow, of course, for our official preview episode and our NFL Week 14 preview episode on the Purple Rain podcast with a special guest. So make sure you tune in for that. We got a very, very special guest, second time person coming on the show. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. Of course, Alex will be with us as well. If you're watching on X, follow me here on X at Sutton Def. If you're watching on Kick, salute to you. Shout out to you. Make sure you give us a follow on that platform as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe as well. And also join our membership. We do have membership-only videos coming out every week. We had one yesterday. Yesterday's episode was members only. So make sure if you want to get all the content that you possibly can from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, go ahead and sign up for one of our memberships. Again, my name is Sutton Def. Without any further ado, always stay positive, test negative, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. This has been another episode of Quiet Storm Sports. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.